Hi, here's Michael Leander. I'm at the DMAI 2014 in New Delhi, India, and there's so many interesting Indian smart marketers here, but there are also a few internationally recognized and very accomplished people from the direct marketing and digital marketing space. And I happen to have one of those wonderful people with me right now. Her name is Luisa. She hails from the wonderful country, the beautiful country of South Africa. But we're not here to talk about South Africa. In fact, we're here to talk about her and her experience related to marketing strategy. So let's start by hearing a little bit about who Luisa is as a starting point. So please.
Thank you, Michael. Hi, I'm Luisa Mazinter. I'm the CEO of themarketingsite.com, which is a portal focused on marketing and communications. And I'm passionate about everything to do with marketing, specifically in the digital space, but certainly in terms of driving business results through effective marketing strategies.
And that's interesting you mentioned result, because I think, I don't know what your opinion is, but I think when we talk about results, it seems to be a better way to get results that you do good planning, that you have a good strategy in place before you start chasing activities and deadlines. What's your viewpoint on that?
Absolutely, Michael. And I think that's part of where businesses go wrong, is that they tend to get sucked into the operational stuff, into the execution of tactics, rather than sitting back and actually looking at what are they trying to achieve, what are their strategic objectives, what are their core business and their financial objectives, and then looking at how are they going to get there. And that's what strategy is. Strategy is actually very simple. Is say, what is my competitive context, who is the market that I'm trying to target, how can I as a business take the value that I can bring to that market more in the best possible way, and then what are the steps I need to take to get there, and then what are the tactics I'm going to use in order to achieve those individual objectives.
Right, and is your experience, if you look at South Africa as an example, I know you do a lot of consulting and you're also teaching at one or several universities in South Africa and elsewhere perhaps. What's the deal in South Africa? How are businesses approaching this?
Very much the way businesses the world over approach things. Generally what's happened is the world has shifted so fast and so dramatically that a lot of businesses who've been operating in the same models for many, many years, comfortable with it, know what they know what they're going to get, are starting to find that the world has changed, is that consumers aren't behaving necessarily the way they used to. They're not responding in the way they used to the traditional media and to the traditional approaches. So businesses are kind of taking a step back and re-looking their market, re-looking the opportunities, trying to innovate in order to make sure that they are still relevant for the markets that are sort of in markets of now and of the future.
That's very interesting, how businesses more or less all over the world behave in more or less the same way.
Exactly.
Yeah, but I'm thinking about this omnipresence.
Yes.
And what's your take on the following? I think what I'm experiencing talking to marketers all over the place is a tendency to want to talk about specific channels. And want to talk about, let's do more of this and less of that. Why do you think it is like that? Why aren't we just talking about omnipresence and talking more about consumer behavior and try to align with that?
I think because that's what we're comfortable with. I think that's why we're doing it, because it's always worked for us in the past. You know, that's the sign of madness, is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different outcome.
Yeah.
I think the key thing and the reality facing most marketers today is that the environment has shifted because consumers demand more openness, more transparency, more access to companies than they ever have before, because that's what they're experiencing out in the digital world anyway. Yeah. They're also walking around with the means of communication, with the means of production in their pockets. So they've actually entered into a space where they feel they have a right and an obligation to talk about the brands and the companies that they interact with on a daily basis, because that's what impacts on their lives. So I think companies need to take a step back, really relook the market that they're operating in, relook their competitive context, because competitors have come in from industries that traditionally aren't necessarily, haven't always been there, and decide where is the pain point, what's the need that there's a company really can meet in terms of what the market is looking for, and then start to say, well, if that's the pain point or if that's the need, how do I as a business become or position myself as the choice for consumers, for my target market, in terms of meeting that need? And then look at what are the channels that I'm going to use, to communicate in a 360-degree way, omnipresence, being available. What is the story I need to tell? What is my unique selling proposition? And how do I craft that into a story that will be compelling, that customers will find interesting, attractive, and want to engage with? And then what channels do I use to tell that story? And it's the appropriate part of the story for the appropriate channel. It's this whole concept of transmedia storytelling, is don't go and blurt it out there across every single channel the same story, but take consumers on a journey. Understand what their buying process is like and what their customer journey is, and then make sure that they have the right information, the right tools in order to move further along the journey till the point that they become your customers and your advocates, which is ultimately what we want to achieve.
Absolutely, and that brings me to another question, and I was just thinking about maybe a new acronym, which I think should be CCCCC, which would be customer centricity, customer experience, and customer care.
Yes.
So could you talk a little bit about how you think, and also keeping that advocacy point in mind, how companies should be addressing this, especially if you're talking about reinventing, so to speak, how they approach their market?
I think that, and again, it comes back to how businesses the world over have structured themselves. Is you have, the marketing department, and then you have the customer service department, you have the sales department, and you have the operational department, and everybody's kind of operated in those silos for many, many years. But what's happening more and more, because media has become so ubiquitous, because it's become so interactive, is what I'm finding, certainly with my clients, is they're needing to collaborate and coordinate in a much more integrated fashion than ever before. They're needing to, the customer service and sales and marketing are needing to work and finance and analytics. All of these departments are needing to talk more, are needing to engage more on an ongoing basis to make sure that the customer need, which should always be at the forefront of their minds, is being met at every touch point that the customer has with the organization. So it's not just about different channels of marketing anymore. It's about different channels of experience for the customer at every single touch point that they have, and making sure that there's a consistent delivery, if not exceeding, of the customer expectation at every touch point that they have.
That's very, very well said, and that, I think, would imply a complete change of organization, potentially, a new set of skills for different types of people.
And new metrics.
And new metrics, not to mention. Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely.
So I had another question, because you talked about advocacy a moment ago, and I'm very happy that you brought that up, because a lot of people don't. People who should don't, in my experience. So if we look at advocacy, and we look at how the traditional approach has been, especially for someone like you, coming with a direct marketing background, and we've looked at customer lifetime, some people look at the RFM model, some even actually apply it to a certain extent. But is there not a new component to this now that is not immediately trackable from a monetary point of view? So influence, likeliness of passing the message on, would they be component for evaluating advocacy today, or?
Absolutely. I mean, I think that the digital world that we're living in allows us, for the very first time, to truly understand both what our customers are thinking and what they truly want. So in one of the sessions that I attended this morning at the conference, the speaker was saying that Google essentially gives us what the world wants through the search queries that they enter, and social media gives us a sense of what the world is actually doing and what they're thinking about the brands and the interactions. So if we're not out there listening, if we're not out there really trying to extract from all this massive data that is being created exactly what is relevant to our brand and to our business, and we talk about, we should have a role called the Chief Listening Officer, who literally all they do is focus on understanding shifting customer behavior patterns, shifting customer opinions and insights. Because if you really start listening, you'll pick out those pockets of influence. You'll start to see through social network analysis and various other tools that you can identify the key influences, and they might not be the influences of the past. Because essentially in the past, the broadcasters really influenced what we thought about what was happening in the world around us, because they were the only ones with the means of communication to actually get a message to a massive amount of people. Now we're all broadcasters. Now we all have differing levels of influence. So it's about using the tools that exist to understand who are the influencers. It's about building relationships with them, because we know that they'll be able to get the positive message and become our advocates and get that positive message out to the marketplace, so that we can actually work with and almost partner with those customers of ours who love and who trust and who believe in our brands.
And I'd like to go just a little bit deeper here along the same line, because if you look at reputation, and there are different types of reputation score, and then you look at individuals, should companies be differentiating service based on the reputation of someone, irregardless of past spend?
I think companies should be differentiating service based on value. And I think that when we talk about relationships that we build with our customers, it's an interesting term, and we all love to use it as marketers. But what does that really mean in the context of how we engage with our customers? I think that ultimately what we want to do is we want to build relationships where there's a true exchange of value, where we are delivering value to the customers who want our services, and they are delivering value in return. It could be just in terms of giving us access to their data, access to their mind space in terms of hearing our messages, or the referral value that they bring to us by telling their friends and their colleagues. So I think it's more complex than just saying, should we be talking to sorry, I've gone lost.
It's okay. It's okay.
We can cut that.
Maybe we can. Maybe we can. We don't know. Maybe this will go viral because. But it happens.
I think that we need to relook the way we've done business in the past. I mean, we think we need to think differently about how we measure value. What does it mean for us to have an advocate who will go out into the market and who will talk positively about our brand? How do we reward that in a way that we inspire that advocate to continue to talk about our brand, about our service levels, etc.? So, yes.
No, I thought that was a great answer, because value is many things, right? It's money.
Yeah. It's
that
time.
Exchange, it's time.
It's effort.
Exactly. So if somebody is truly influential and is willing to pass the message on, perhaps without incentivizing that person, but still probably giving maybe more attention to that person?
Well, I mean, incentive comes in various forms.
Yes.
So it doesn't have to be monetary incentive.
Correct.
It could be pure recognition.
Yes.
It could be involvement. It could be a deeper level of access into the DNA of the company, how things work, how we do things. It could be inspiring our customers to start creating stories with us. It could be fame.
Yeah.
There are all kinds of things that deliver value to customers that don't involve literally giving them a discount or any other form of monetary incentive.
And that actually relates back to what you said earlier about consumers, or business buyers for that matter, wanting to partake at a different level with the individual brands. Are you familiar with Lego's story, where they invite enthusiasts to go to Peelon, which is in Denmark, where Lego's headquarters is? Every year, I think it takes place, to help innovate Lego. Are you familiar with that?
Yes, I've heard about the story, and I think it's incredible, and I think a lot more companies are realizing that customers want to be more engaged and
Yeah.
more involved in product design, in communication design, in the strategic direction of the company itself, because they feel so passionate. And the more you involve your customers in the process of co-creation, the more you involve them, the more of a sense of connectedness they feel with you, and the more relevant you become in their lives.
That's right. I think we'll have to stop on that note. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for listening. If you are interested in knowing more about Luisa, there should be some links somewhere here that would point to her website and her LinkedIn profile. I forgot to mention in the introduction that Luisa, apart from teaching at universities, she's also a speaker. So if you'd be interested in having her at your event, you should contact her. And obviously also a consultant helping companies get this very, very difficult time we're in right for their brand and for their consumers. So here's Michael Leander signing out, thanking you for watching and wishing you a great day today and all the other days.